Hi, it's Jen from Shabby Fabrics here to introduce a brand new tool from Creative Grid. This is called the 10-inch Wonky log cabin trim tool. I love that. Look at this. It's a spin on a log cabin where you start off with your center. You're starting to add those logs around the center and pressing away every time. But I love that look. That's just a little bit, well, wonky. So we're going to take a dive into that today. I think this is a great scrap buster. It uses 2.5-inch strips. So you could certainly pick a beautiful coordinated jelly roll strip and maybe a strip of white. So you have that nice contrast, kind of like what I did with my sample here. Or just mix and match, whatever you want to do. I know what that's like to have fabric left over after a project. And you're like, what do I do with this? One thing you can do, which is fabrics that's left over, grab the Creative Grid 2.5 by 24.5-inch ruler just to cut those initial strips. And then I found myself grabbing for the 2.5 by 12.5-inch, which was the ruler that I used to cut all of my sub strips going into the block. So much fun. So I'm going to show you how to read this tool. Of course, all of the Creative Grid tools always come with the instructions. This one in particular I had to pay very close attention to, so I'm going to point that out to you as we go. I've got a white piece of just a white paper here to help us read all these different rounds that we're going to trim up. No sewing on this. I'm just going to show you once things are sewn on, how do we use the trim tool. So that's my goal today, to show you this really fun, I think going to be extremely popular. All of those scraps that were left over are now going to become an amazing quilt, and people are going to be complimenting you on that. So to start off with, to make the wonky log cabin, and first off, it makes a 10-inch block. That's the one size it does. So you'll start off with your center, just like you've done with every log cabin. And it's going to be very important you keep track of where your whites are, or lights, they call them, and darks. That is a very important thing I've discovered when I was making this and practicing this. So starting off with your 2.5-inch center, of course your instructions are going to have what size to cut your strips to. Again, lights and darks is how they're separating them. And we started off just sewing this, and you're always going to press away from the center. Everything's pressed to the outside. Sew this on, sew this on, and sew this on. You're always working in a clockwise direction, not in opposites. Sometimes you've seen me work in, like I sew this here and sew this on the other side. No, this way, and you're going to keep rotating in the clockwise rotation. Once you have 4 things sewn onto the center, it's time to trim. So I just want to show you the back of that block, right? See, everything is pressed away. We did light, light, dark, dark. Now it's time for the first function, and I'm going to open up our instructions so that you can follow along. Hopefully there's not too much glare. This is key. This is a square at this point. You could put this tool down and trim that really on any sides, but it's very important that you're paying attention to. Notice the lights are in the upper right corner. So we're going to use a round 1A, and then round 1B is over on this side. That's where we're going to start off with. We're going to do a second round after that, and then a final round. So we're going to work from the outside here into the middle. That's how we'll function. So following our instructions with our block slightly tilted to the right, this is our round 1A. You can see that right there, and you're going to just center that right over top of your center square, which in this case we chose a black, so it'd be nice and easy for you to see that. And you'll be able to trim once. Rotate this mat. It works fabulous in conjunction with a spinning mat. Not absolutely required, but I found it, and they even talk about this. Works lovely. Rotate it one more time, and notice how round 1B just clicks right into position there for our second cut. So now we're over here. Notice the dark here, and our lights. And now we will do our second trim function. Here, and rotate. So this is our unit so far. That's where we are so far. So let's set us back up. We'll put that up there for just a moment. Once you have this like this, I'm just going to bring this out so you can see. This is where we are, and once again, we add the light, light, dark, dark in that clockwise rotation. Now we're able to do our second trimming function, round 2A. So let's flip our paper over. And again, notice the light is in that upper right corner. Our trim tool, again, see that round 2A and round 2B is here. We're going to repeat that, except now with round 2, we trim the 2 sides, rotate our mat, give it one more rotation. We'll drop that 2B right into that square. That's our 2B right there. I want you to see that. I'm dropping that right into that square. And I also now have this lineup and this lineup to help confirm my location. I love that. I'm starting to get more confirmation, more proof that I'm in the right spot, so to speak. So let's bring that back up. So now this is what we're looking at. Let me bring out another round of that so you can see this is where we are, right? Just like this. This is us right here. Once again, we're doing light, light, dark, dark. Still in that clockwise rotation until we have this. This is where it changes. In the previous 2 rounds of trimming, our first was always with the light in the upper right. Here, notice how now our light is over in this quadrant over here and our dark is up here. That's a very important thing to keep track of. Now we will put our round, see how it says center square, round 3. This is our final trim. And this is again where that spinning mat just shines, because now I'm trimming up on all 4 sides. Previously I was only able to trim 2 sides and then I had to rotate the mat to get those other 2 sides. This is your final trim. And now you have your block. You have your wonky block. Isn't that fun? I mean, I'm just like, oh my gosh. All of those scraps, all of those 3-inch scraps, 4-inch scraps. I'm like, I don't know what to do with it, but I can't bear to part with it. Well, I know what I'm going to do now. I'm going to create a stash of darker strips and lighter strips and be able to make these so much fun, so much color, right? And I think it's just a wonderful way to use up those scraps. So be sure, pick up the 10-inch Wonky Log Cabin Trim Tool. You can see it works lovely with the 12-inch spinning mat. Anything else you might need, you know, any diagonal seam tape, seam guide, thread, whatever that is. So this is a really fun new tool from Creative Grid. Thanks for giving me a few minutes of your day to show you how it works, how easy it is. It's a scrap buster. Add that to your stash. Let a friend know as well. Subscribe. Much more coming your way. Thanks again. I'll see you soon.